Let's talk about Modern Warfare. The beta just came to an end, and although I'm more of an average player when it comes to skill, I still wanted to put some of my opinions out there. I wouldn't consider myself great at making reviews, so I simply put together a list of pros and cons that I would like to share today. Let's start with the pros list. I think what I liked most about this game is that it is slower and more grounded than some of the other more recent Call of Duty games. Overall, the game is simply less chaotic than something like Black Ops 4, and allows for more strategy than before. Your ability to play defensively in this game is just important as it is to play offensively. Being aware of your surroundings and being able to get the jump on other players is very important to being successful in this game. That is something that would have been a lot more difficult to do in previous games because the pacing was a lot quicker back then. I also appreciate the changes that they made to the minimap in this game. The lack of red dots when people fire their weapons makes you more reliant on your eyes and ears. It also gives the suppressor a completely new purpose, and UAVs are significantly more important than before. I really enjoy the ability to change your fire mode on your weapon. This is something that we've only ever seen once since Black Ops 2, and I'm happy that they've brought it back. I like the ability to lean and mount your weapons on surfaces. It just is something that feels really cool to me, and I also appreciate how mounting your weapon can affect the recoil. I think the artistic side of this game is really good. I enjoy the graphics, the music, the sounds. It just is all really good. I really appreciate that dual rendering and scopes has come back. I think it just looks really cool and gives off a much more realistic look. I like that they added a realism mode with no HUD. I can't see it being the most popular mode to play, but it is still pretty neat to have. In the settings, we do have the option to change the sound of our hit markers, whether it be the classic Modern Warfare sound or a more updated one. I still wish we had the option to turn off hit markers completely, but at least we can turn off the sound. Also, the hit markers themselves aren't that bad. They're not as distracting as some have been before. The weapons overall just feel very satisfying to use. They have a good amount of recoil that makes it feel satisfying to get kills, but also when you walk and move around with them, they sway around in a way that feels heavy but not stiff like they have been before. The new tactical sprinting ability is pretty cool. That's all I have to say about that. I appreciate that a lot of the kill streaks weren't too overpowered like some of the ones from Black Ops 4 or something. There were a couple that I wasn't too fond of, but overall they were mostly fine. And finally, I like that when you get a kill, it shows the XP you earned as opposed to the score like you would in the past few games. I mostly like it for nostalgic reasons. It doesn't really impact the game at all. But those were the things that I could think of to put on the pros list. Now let's move on to the cons list. I felt like at times the maps could be too sandboxy. There could be lots of open areas for enemies to hide, and it was simply too hard to keep track of all of them. Obviously, having a better map knowledge would help mitigate this issue, but I don't feel like it's ever going to completely go away considering how wide open these maps can be sometimes. I thought the spawns were really bad in this game. I had one match where I would simply spawn and get killed in the same spot over and over without really a way to stop it. Although I hear that this is going to get some work, so that's good. There were some times in objective modes where I felt like it took a lot more effort than it should have to actually play the objective. It sometimes felt like getting to B in domination could be a huge pain, especially with how easy it was to be spawn trapped. And in headquarters, I felt that the unstructured design of the maps could make it hard to get to the right areas. There would be times where I thought I was going in the right direction, but then found out I ran myself into a corner and had to go all the way back around. In the gunsmith, I wasn't too fond of how the weapon attachments were hidden until you level up the weapon more. I had no idea what I was working towards, and I would have liked to have been able to see that. Like I said before, some of the kill streaks were a little overpowered. I think it was mostly the VTOL that gave me trouble. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was able to shoot me through the roofs of buildings. Claymores were just terrible. I'm not 100% sure why they're so bad compared to other games, but they are not great and they were everywhere. I don't like how you can't cycle through the kill streaks on the side of your screen with the up and down arrows of the D-pad. Instead, you have to pull up this wheel and select it through there. There's nothing necessarily wrong with the wheel, but I wish the old way was still in there too. Unless, of course, those up and down directions on the D-pad are going to have some other function when the game comes out. I didn't like how when I was editing a class while searching for a match, it would kick you out of the Create a Class menu when you found a lobby. In after matches, I thought that the after action report got cut off too quickly sometimes, before I could really get a chance to read it. And this one isn't a major issue, but I'm a little sad that it looks like there will only be 2 factions in the multiplayer again. We haven't seen multiple factions in multiplayer since 2012 with Black Ops 2, and I kinda miss it. I assume they limit it to 2 to make character customization easier, but I think it would be nice to have multiple factions again. Those are all the things that I could think of that I liked and disliked about the game so far in its beta state, but let's be honest, this was more of a demo because the game comes out in less than a month. But I want to talk about some of my hopes for this game as well. My main fear about it is that the customization is going to get too crazy. We see this in Black Ops 4 where there are just absolutely crazy outfits for the specialists, and I don't want that to be in this game. I would really prefer that the game continue to look realistic and appropriate, as opposed to having neon green and blue soldiers running around with golden weapons and crazy stuff like that. They said the DLC is going to be free, which I'm very thankful for, but that also makes me worried that the supply drops are going to be even worse than they were in Black Ops 4. And that's why I don't have much hope that we won't be getting crazy character customization throughout the year. But overall, I do like the game. I'm hoping that the game will only get better over time, but we will see.